As of today, I have 12 weeks to train for the biggest physical challenge of my life, the Unbound Gravel 200-mile race in Emporia, Kansas. Yes, 200 miles of dirt, dust, gravel, and chunks of flint in the Flint Hills of Emporia, Kansas. Yeah, Kansas is flat except for those Flint Hills. Get about 12,000 feet of climbing in 200 miles. I'm training on what I'm calling a razor's edge, that edge between becoming sufficiently physically fit to ride 200 miles at hard pace with all that climbing, and the other edge of the other side, if you will, of that razor's edge, cancer-related fatigue. I'm going to start doing weekly documentation, starting here. Let's take a look at my challenge.
That challenge draws close. We're now 12 weeks away from the Unbound Gravel Race. Every good story deserves a foreword, and this story has a 6-year foreword beginning in January 2020 when I received my prostate cancer diagnosis. Alas, before I could obtain treatment, the COVID pandemic descended upon the planet, preventing me from getting treatment. And I learned firsthand that COVID and cancer don't mix very well. Ended up hospitalized, my first treatment, recovered from COVID, survived long enough to get the very first prostate cancer surgery the Yale Hospital conducted. July 1, 2020, my surgeon removed my prostate and 12 lymph nodes. I hopped back on my bike as quickly as I could. My surgeon told me that he typically required his patients wait 3 months before cycling. He made me promise to wait a month. A month to the day, hopped on my bike, rode 25 miles. Within a month, I was doing centuries as 100-mile rides. Alas, COVID and cancer still don't mix. Another hospitalization in 2020. Despite being vaxxed and boosted as often as I could, as you'll see, I even contracted COVID a third time. I'm back on my bike, gaining strength, but my cancer was raging. And from September 2021 to December 2021, I underwent 8 weeks of daily radiation. Shortly after that was done, I went to South by Southwest to talk about a film I was making. And yeah, on airplanes, cancer and pandemics. Third case of COVID, but not hospitalized. Began training for one of the biggest bike rides of my life, the Tour Divide along the Rocky Mountains from Banff, Canada to the Mexican border. Alas, while I was cycling, I collided with a deer, broke 18 bones. 2 of those bones were my ribs that punctured both lungs. I nearly died, but I recovered. I recovered in time that by the next fall, I again learned about the relationship between cancer and other health conditions. My immune system was still sufficiently compromised that an infected wisdom tooth nearly killed me. But I kept riding, and in June 2023, I returned to the Tour Divide, rode just the first 1,000 miles from Banff, Canada to the Tetons when my oncologist asked me to come back for a cancer test. But it was a lovely ride. Just extraordinary opportunity. And by June 2024, I was in good enough condition to ride the Vermont Gravel Race, 100 miles plus 13,000 feet of climbing. And then I got sick again. January and February of 2025, a respiratory infection combined with my cancer kept me off my bicycle for those 2 months. I had planned on riding the 200-mile Unbound that year. Couldn't train sufficiently, but I did ride the 100-mile Unbound. What an extraordinary experience. And now, yes, still alive, and I'm back. Going to ride Unbound May 30th, 2026. Yes, that's 87 days, 15 hours, 53 minutes, and 40 seconds as I speak. And this year, I'm riding the 200. Well, health condition allowing. Now I find myself facing what I call a razor's edge, although it looks more dramatic. If we use the metaphor of a tightrope, on one side, I'm trying to train sufficiently for this extraordinarily challenging 200 miles of gravel, dirt, mud, and chunks of flint with 10 or 12,000 feet of climbing while dealing with cancer-related fatigue. My cancer metastasized, which means it's moved beyond its original location. It is now incurable, but potentially treatable. My cancer is micrometastatic. That is, enough cancer cells have not yet found each other to form sufficient lumps or tumors to be treatable, but I do suffer from extraordinary fatigue. But you say, how can you have metastatic cancer? You went to Yale Oncology, and your oncologist, your oncological surgeon, removed your prostate and a dozen lymph nodes surrounding your prostate. Well, there are 2 reasons. The first is my surgeon left cancer. I learned a year after my surgery, talking to a radiation oncologist, that the pathology report that I received, I probably read it but didn't understand it, reported that my surgeon left a positive margin. Positive margin sounded positive to me. It's not. It means the outer edge of what my surgeon removed was cancerous, meaning almost certainly my surgeon left cancer in my body, and in my case, it's proved with certainty cancer remained in my body. And I learned the nature of that cancer. After my cancer numbers went up, I requested a DNA test of my cancerous bits that my pathologist had in his freezer. And on a scale of 0 to 1, with 1 being basically a death sentence, I received a score of 0.9, or roughly the most aggressive flavor of cancer possible. But wait, I've had aggressive cancer in many other regions for 6 years. And I'm talking about riding the world's hardest one-day bicycle race? How is this possible? Well, first let's look at my cancer numbers. This is my PSA score, monthly score over the course of a year. The PSA is a prostate-specific antigen, a protein molecule on prostate cancer cells. Yes, I've got prostate cancer cells floating around in my blood. It means my cancer is metastasized. It is out beyond the area where it was originally found. But it varies a lot. Well, let's look at what else varies a lot. This is my cycling. I've documented on the website for the Exercise Obsessed Strava. And you can see in January and February of 2025, when I wasn't cycling, my cancer numbers went up. I've documented this well, including very recent research and other entries in my online cancer diary. Go take a look at those if you're interested. If you have cancer, please go take a look at those. There is almost a completely inversely linear relationship between exercise and cancer. The harder you exercise, not just the amount of exercise, but the intensity of exercise, helps not only with cancer survival, that is, living longer if you have cancer, but cancer avoidance. Let's look at more recent data. So my Strava numbers from September 2025 to January 2026, up and down. Yeah, again, I got another respiratory infection. Cancer and any kind of illness don't work well together. And here is my PSA score. Again, as my exercise declines, my PSA score, my cancer number goes up. I'm doing well now. I'm exercising hard. I'm going to talk about how hard I exercise shortly. But for now, I'm not going to get any more PSA tests until after I complete Unbound 2000 on May 30, 2026. And just how am I going to exercise sufficiently to be ready for the world's hardest one-day gravel bicycle race while avoiding complete exhaustion due to cancer-related fatigue? I'm going to get a coach for a real rider who has a real life and a big goal. Yeah, Kristen Ligon, a legend, won the Unbound 350 miler and on the podium for the 200 miler, recently inducted to the Gravel Cycling Hall of Fame. She's helping me figure out how to walk this razor's edge or tightrope. Well, I didn't find this coach on my own. I wasn't smart enough to do that. But the people at Merchant Cycles in Emporia, Kansas are. And Merchant Cycles connected riders like me with Kristen Ligon through an online Facebook page for Unbound participants, offering this coaching for free to anybody interested. There are 20 or 25 of us now signed up. I am forever grateful. Already started buying stuff from Merchant Cycles. Going to buy as much stuff as I could put in my car when I get there, out of gratitude for this extraordinary opportunity. Just how does a professional organize a training plan for 25 people or more? Typically you use something called Training Peaks. New to me, but I'm learning. And this is this week's workout. Today is Wednesday, March 4. You can see I had a day off on Monday. Tuesday I did intervals for an hour and a half. Today I did a 1 hour base ride. Tomorrow I do intervals for another hour and a half. Friday's off. Saturday a base ride of 4 hours. And Sunday a base ride of an hour and a half. Yeah, that's a lot of work. How am I going to manage it? Yeah, just how am I going to manage that intensity of workouts? Well, courtesy of Merchant Cycles, Kristen Ligon, and our WhatsApp group that all of us trainees share, I asked, I have been enjoying the challenge of this workouts. I do have a question, though. I'm living on the razor's edge between the cancer-related fatigue caused by my metastatic prostate cancer and training sufficiently for this 200-mile race. Oh, and I'm 71 years old. To accommodate fatigue, I've been taking an extra day off. Typically, Sundays, choice ride. I've been completing the interval workouts and the long workout on Saturday. Does this seem sensible? And The legend responded, "Hey, John, way to keep on pushing when it feels right and prioritizing rest. Yes, I think taking Sunday off as an extra day is a great place to start, especially as we're getting into longer Saturday rides. In general, I say focus on doing one interval workout during the week and one long ride. Beyond that, do easier base rides when you have the energy and time. Keep at it, and thanks for the updates. You are amazing." What a gift. So I'm going to do my best to follow the plan, but I will just do easy base rides when I feel like I need to, and every now and then, once a week, take an extra day off. Just how does this sort of training work? This is my life. Today, Wednesday, March 4th, I did a base ride of an hour, relatively easy hour ride. Yesterday, I did an hour and a half of interval training. Interval training, go really hard for a while, then pedal more easily, go really hard, pedal more easily. Do that until an hour and a half have passed and you're pretty much exhausted. I took Monday off. Tomorrow, more interval training of an hour and a half. Friday, a day off. Saturday, a 4-hour base ride at a relatively easy pace. I've got a lovely 60-mile ride. The weather's finally good enough to go outside. 60 miles with about 3,000 feet of climbing. And Sunday, I'll probably take off. But you can see our training this week is about 9.5 hours total. And next week, we're at about 6.5 hours. A little easier. Why? Because that base ride is 2 hours instead of 4 hours. I've still got interval training, but just on Wednesday, none of the days. So a little bit easier. The following week, I've got interval training this day and this day, so 2 more. We're up to a little more riding that week, 9.5 hours. Next March, I've got more hard riding. I got a 10.5 hour week. I've got 11.5 hour week. Longest ride so far, 6 hours. I'll probably go a little farther than that. I typically like to do a century, a 100-mile ride, every few weeks. Next week, next several weeks, I've got the hardest ride so far. This one, 5 hours of interval training on April 18th. Then we come up, we're going to be in May. You can see this week I've got 10.5 hours. This week I got 10.5 hours. This is the gravel ride simulation. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do actually 150 miles. Last really hard ride. Next series of weeks, I've got a total of 7.5 hours, back to 9 hours. Longest ride here. We got 3 hours. We got several interval sessions. I'll probably only do one a week. We'll see how I feel. And then the event itself. Let's revisit. What is it that I'm training for? This is from the Global Cycling Network, which has 3.5 million subscribers of obsessive cyclists around the world. A report by a fellow who rode the World Tour, races such as the Tour de France, came over from Europe, rode Unbound, and called it the toughest race of his life. And some of those pros have claimed off and on that it might be actually too tough. How tough is too tough? Well, this says it's Unbound Gravel 2026 route. This is really last year's route. The organizers have promised us this year, because it's the 20th anniversary, they are developing a particularly torturous route to commemorate the event. In any event, you can see 200 miles, 10,000 feet of climbing. It should be something even more impressive or depressive this year.
If you wish, follow along on my dual journeys with metastatic cancer and training for an extraordinary physical challenge.